Hello everyone. Today we are going to see about the programmer model of processor. So far we have seen the introduction to ARM processor and what is mean by a RISC processor, difference between your CISC and the RISC processor. And we are into overview of architecture we have covered in the last class and now, today's class, we are going to discuss about the programmer model. So far, we have discussed about the product range and the evolution of architecture of ARM. And we need to discuss how these ARM cores will work. Okay. And we know that we have the final architecture model of ARM just stopped with the V7, ARM V7, and we had three different profiles of ARM V7, that is A, R, and M. And profiles ARM V7A and ARM V7R profiles are quite similar, whereas ARM V7 microcontroller profile that is significant in many ways, and that we will see in a while. And fundamentally, these ARM architecture cores are basically it is going to follow the RISC architecture. It is going to follow the RISC architecture, and though all the cores are not fully a RISC architecture, most of the modern architecture cores are strongly it will inherit the features of a RISC architecture, and though they are not really in a RISC mode. Okay, and we'll be having two main so I repeat, fundamentally ARM cores are mostly having this RISC architecture, but recent development of ARM cores, though they are not fully RISC supports fully RISC architecture, but they have strong RISC heritage and has many of the RISC features such as load and store architecture and the large register set, and it will execute the instruction in a single cycle. That is one of the main feature of the RISC processor. And coming to the data size and the instruction set so of your ARM processor, and ARM is a RISC architecture. As I said, it will inherit the most of the features of your RISC architecture, namely your load store architecture and your large register set, and it will execute in the instruction in a single cycle. Okay. And what is mean by this load store architecture is memory access will be allowed using this load store instructions. Okay, using this load store instructions in ARM processors, and most of the internal registers and as well as the memory are 32 bits wide, and direct access with the memory can be done only with the load and the store instructions, as I said mentioned earlier. And if we need to process a data in the memory, we need to load the data first inside the core, and then process the data, and then store the processed data into the memory again. We cannot do this operation in a single cycle, meaning you cannot execute all the process, namely your feeding, taking the data from the memory, feeding the data into the core, processing the data in the core, and then storing the processed data inside the memory. We cannot do it in a single instruction. Whereas other different architectures, other recent architectures is capable of modifying the contents in the memory directly, but not the ARM instruction set. ARM instruction set cannot do that in a single cycle. And it is having this ARM processor cores, it is having cleaner and efficient pipeline design. All the internal register except the registers used for vector processing features are 32-bit wide and processed by, and these data will be processed by 32-bit ALU and memory, and it is manipulated by 32-bit units. And ARM's word size is fixed, meaning it is having a fixed word size, that is 32 bits. Most of the ARM processors are 32 bit, so it has a fixed word size. Here word means 32 bits, that is equivalent to 4 bytes. Half word means 16 bits, that is equivalent to 2 bytes. Double word means 64 bits, that is equivalent to 8 bytes. I'm sorry. All the ARM cores are mostly supported by mainly by two types of instruction sets. Okay, namely your native 32-bit ARM instruction and 16 are 32-bit thumb instruction set. 16 are 32-bit thumb instruction set. Okay, so most of the ARM cores are has two instruction set. Most of the ARM core, in the sense, it is ARM V7R and A. Okay, so one is a native 32-bit ARM instruction set, and 16 are 32-bit thumb instruction set. And these two are instruction set are followed in ARM V7A and R profiles. Okay. So what is meant by this native 32-bit ARM instruction set allows the full performance potential. It uses the full performance potential of the ARM cores, whereas the thumb instruction set provides greater core density from the compiled code. And switching between your ARM instruction set and the thumb instruction set is called networking, and normally the compiler and the linker will handle this for us. Some older cores support the earlier version of thumb instruction, which is nothing but a 16-bit instruction, and we will deal with this properly later. And we need to point out here, ARM V7M, the microprocessor core, supports only your thumb instruction set. And if we worked extensively with modern processor architecture, we'll be familiar with the concept of operating modes and also with the idea of privilege. Many processors support two modes. What are the two modes are? They are user modes and supervisor mode. User mode is said to be unprivileged mode, and supervisor mode is said to be privileged mode. Unprivileged mode, in unprivileged mode, we cannot we can do only a certain thing, and we cannot do all the things. For example, disabling interrupts, handling exceptions, memory related actions. Some of the memory related actions cannot be done in using your unprivileged mode, but running under privileged mode is typically the way that an operating system is working. And they use unprivileged mode for user tasks, and this allows the system to protect themselves from user tasks and also protect worst tasks from each other. Now, ARM cores, coming to the ARM cores and discussing about the processor cores in general, coming to the ARM cores, it has typically 7 basic operating modes. As I said earlier, ARM has 7 operating modes, ARM processor modes. We are discussing about the processor modes of ARM, and that too for the ARM V7 Cortex A and R profiles. For these two profiles, we have typically 7 operating modes. They are supervisor, FIQ, IRQ, abort, undefined, system and user. Of the 7, 6 are in privileged mode,
Okay, 6 are in privileged mode and the 1 is in unprivileged mode. Of the 6 privileged mode, 5 will handle exceptions, namely your supervisor, FIQ, IRQ, abort and undefined are the exception modes. Keep in mind, these 7 operating modes are for Cortex A and R profiles only. So, all the except one, as I said earlier, it is in privileged mode and user mode is in unprivileged mode. Each mode has its own stack space. Each mode has its own stack space and a different subset of registers. And some of the operations are carried out in the privileged mode also. And user mode, it is used by the operating system for user tasks in processor. And 5 of them are exception modes. Each one is associated with a particular type of exceptions or interrupts. So, coming to example, I am telling, coming to the IRQ mode. IRQ mode is used for handling IRQ interrupts. And SVC mode, which is otherwise said to be supervisor mode, it is used for handling SVC instructions and hardware resets. Each of these modes, all these modes I am telling about, each of these modes has its own stack space and also a subset of private registers, and these features we called it as a register banking makes the handling of nested exceptions more efficient from software point of view, provided those exceptions are of different types. Nesting exceptions of the same type are quite complex and we don't have time to treat that here. The slide is for the earlier structure of Cortex A and R. This slide I am telling you, this modes is for your Cortex A and R. Cortex M is completely different because this modes holds good for only for your Cortex A and R, and for your Cortex M you will be having Cortex M will be having different modes and the structure. The processor modes of the Cortex M are the thread mode. There are only 2 operating modes. One is the thread mode and another one is the handler mode. Thread mode and the handler mode. Upon reset, the ARM processor of Cortex M will go to the thread mode, and once an exception comes, okay, once if an exception is coming, it goes to the handler state, and after completing the exception, it returns to the thread mode itself. It returned to the thread mode itself. And here, see, both all the 3, namely your Cortex A, Cortex R and Cortex M, there are several options here for the programmer. So, it is possible to configure the system. See, you have 7 different modes in your Cortex A and R, and 2 different modes in your Cortex M. So, we have possible options or several options for the programmer to select which modes that we can use, that either in the privileged mode we can go ahead or in the unprivileged mode. Like that we can configure the system. So, both the modes are, we can use both the modes as privileged mode itself. By default, they operate on separate stack. But see, if you are using 2 different modes, each one of the mode will be having its own separate stack. But we can configure the system so that it can use the only stack. Okay, it depends on the designer or the software architecture and how he is going to use the modes and for which purpose. To design a complex system, if he is going to design a complex system, we can use the privileged mode, or if we are going to design a simple system, we don't need to use the privileged mode. We will cover more about the exceptions later. Let us see now how modes and registers interact. User mode. So, we have seen about your till now we have seen the modes of your Cortex A, R and M. So far I am telling about each modes will be having its own private register banks, and we will discuss about those register banks in the next slides. So this ARM register set is for your Cortex A and R only. These are dedicated register banks for each modes. Assume that we are in user mode. Now we are operating the ARM processor in the user mode. When you are using this in the user mode, ARM processor in the user mode, you have 16 general purpose registers from R0 to R15 and 1 status registers, current program status registers, of which R13, 14 and 15 are used for, 13 is for stack pointer, 14 is your linker register and 15 is your program counter. When you are in user mode, the other modes and the registers associated with the other modes, registers associated with the register banks associated with the other modes will be banked out. Banked out in the sense we are not going to use it. When we are in user mode, we are going to use only the registers associated with the user mode. The other register banks associated for the other different modes will be banked out. See, of which 7 of the 7 operating modes, here we have only 6 operating modes that is being mentioned: user, FIQ, supervisor, abort, IRQ and undefined. System mode is not mentioned here because user mode and the system mode will share the same register bank, except that the user mode is an unprivileged mode, whereas the system mode is a privileged mode. That is the only difference. Other than that, every registers is common for user and the system mode. So I repeat, so in user mode, when we are in user mode, it has R0 to R15 register and a single status register called current program status register, which will hold things like current modes and ALU status registers and so on. We will look into detail about the status registers in the forthcoming slides on the classes. The other registers, whichever not currently used, whichever that is associated with the other operating modes are banked out, are said to be banked out. They are not accessible. They will be coming into use only when the processor changes the modes. So for example, if I'm changing the mode from user to IRQ, the same set of registers from R0 to R12 will be here. R0 to R10 is same as that of user mode, except for R13 and R15, which is highlighted in the gray color. So this will replace the R13 and 14 of the user mode. Now R13 and 14 of the user is banked out. Okay, R13 and R14 will be banked out. R13 is used for your stack pointer again for the IRQ mode. R14 is used for the linker register for the IRQ mode. Okay. So this indicates that IRQ mode has its own location for storing its return address and also has its own private stack. Another new register is your SPSR register, whichever I have circled it in red. SPSR register, that is said to be saved program status register. Okay. And see, whenever an exception is coming, whenever we need to run one of the exception, maybe an interrupt. Example, whenever an interrupt is coming from the user mode, if we are going to switch on to the IRQ mode, whatever will be the current status of the user mode will be saved in the current CPSR, the status register, and it will be switched to the IRQ mode. It will execute, it will handle the exception here and then return to the user mode again by taking the status from the program status register, or and then it will start executing from the point where we left earlier when the exception has come. Okay. So this is how it will operate. Your ARM register bank or the modes it will be operating. And one more we will see now is FIQ. FIQ is nothing but your one of the mode here, FIQ mode. So here we have large set of register banks. See here R0 to R7 is same as the user mode, whereas R8 to R14, this is replaced here in the user mode, and the R8 to R14 is banked out in the user, and R18 to R12, R8 to R12, I'm sorry, R8 to R12 additional private registers for FIQ mode for handling the FIQ some sort of interrupt. Again, it is used for exception handling, one of the exception handling. It can handle the exceptions efficiently, fastly, and than handling the standard IRQ. We have not mentioned the system mode. We have not mentioned the system mode here, as I said earlier, because the system mode and the user mode shares the same set of registers. The only difference between the two is privileged mode. Register organization in different modes I am giving here. That the summary of register banks we will see. The other modes we will the same thing, whichever is highlighted here, that will be replaced in the user mode, and R13 and R14 will be banked out, and your SPSR will come into picture except for your user mode, and we will see more in detail when we are working with the ARM course. And the summary of the registers, and this is a register organization in different modes. One important hidden feature is the partition of the register bank. When operated in thumb instruction mode, thumb has 16-bit, okay, thumb has 16-bit registers, the earlier ones, and the newer ones will be having, the newer version of ARM course is having 32 bits. The earlier version I am talking about, when it is operated in 16-bit, it has to use only the lower order bit registers, and hence thumb low state registers. I will be telling it as the low state registers. Keep in mind each register is of 32-bit wide. And R0 to R8 is said to be thumb state low registers, where R9 to R15 is said to be thumb state high registers. All these register set is for your Cortex, whichever we are discussing now is for your Cortex R and A only. Whereas Cortex M will be having a different set of register, and it has 18 registers, simple registers, and these 18 registers are common for both the thread mode and the handler modes, because we have two modes in your Cortex M, that is your thread mode and your handler mode. So both of the modes use the same register sets except for your R13. R13 is for your stack pointer. Stack pointer will be separate for the thread mode and the handler mode. When we are in the thread mode, the stack pointer of the handler mode will be banked out, and when we are in the handler mode, the stack pointer of the thread mode will be banked out. So now R0 to R12 is the general purpose register, of which from R0 to R7 is said to be the low registers, and R8 to R14 is said to be the high registers. Other than that, we will be having three special registers, namely R13, 14, 15 is the three special registers: stack pointer register, linked register, and the program counter. And one more special purpose register, that is your program status registers, that XPSR. It is again divided into two: APSR, EPSR, IPSR, application program status register, execution program status register, and your interrupt program status register. And this we will see in detail in the later slides. So as I said earlier, okay, when we have two stack pointers, one for the thread and one for the handler modes. As like the processor stack pointer, we have the handler stack pointer also, which is only accessible in the handler mode. On a less running space, less running on an OS operating system, we need to separate the kernel level and the thread level data in programs. The handler stack pointer is probably not needed, but either way, only one of them will be visible. For example, if we are in thread mode, this stack pointer R13 of the thread will be visible. The handler mode will be hidden or banked out. And that is what I'm telling you. In whichever operating modes we are in, that particular stack pointer will be visible for us. And with this, I'm ending up my today's lecture. We have discussed the processing modes. We have discussed about the instruction sets, And instruction, I'm sorry, I'm not telling about the instruction set. We have discussed about the register bank set, dedicated register bank sets, and for the Cortex A, R, and M. And we will deal with your program status registers in the next class. Thank you.